and Preservance. The Mars mission will test our technologies to help sustain the presence of humans there. So Indian government or ISRO, it is going to do another Mars mission like the Mangalyaan, and this time our technology is going to be better. Um, and if the project is and if the project becomes successful, we'll get some details about the presence of the life, or the chances of the presence of life on the Mars. The possibility of life on Mars has excited the imagination. So the one thing about which the whole world is excited and curious to find out, is is that is life there on any other planet, or at any other place in the space, except Earth, especially on Mars. So the whole world, it's very excited about this topic. Among the scientific community, the current thinking is that life may have existed on Earth's ruddy planetary neighbor a long time ago. So most of the scientific community means, the space research centers like NASA, ISRO, and Russian Soviet Center. So the basic concept of life, and opinions of all the space research centers is that life has existed on Mars many years ago, but not now. Earth's ready planetary neighborhood. So the atmosphere of Earth is very well suitable for the sustenance of life, and similarly, the atmosphere of Mars is also it is also quite favorable for the existence of life. So that's why many space organizations have been researching about Mars so deeply. The recent NASA mission Mars 2020, that was launched from the Cape Canaveral, Florida, on June 30, 2020, landed on the Zero Carter in Mars on February 18, too much celebration. So the latest project of NASA, it was the launching of satellite, on June 30, 2020, and the launching took place in Florida, and this Florida, and it actually and the project it consisted of three things: a lander, a rover, and an orbiter. So the lander successfully launched on one of the craters of the Mars, known as the Zero crater on Mars, and it landed on Mars on February 18th. Too much celebration. So that was obviously a course of celebration of special magnificence was the entry, descent, and landing of the mission's Preservance rover, described as the shortest and most intense part. So of all the parts, or of all the of all the situations of all the situations of the working of the project, and the separation of the project, and the separation of the parts of the rocket or the satellite in the project. Of all of them, the most interesting and the most intensified part was the separation of the lander and the rover, or the way in which the rover comes out of the lander, and lands safely on the surface of the Mars. So of all, that was the most shortest, and at the same time the most intensified part too. Entering the Martian atmosphere at about 20,000 km per hour, the mission had to bring the Preservance over to a halt on the surface in just 7 minutes. So entering the Martian atmosphere, so the orbiter or the lander, it entered the Martian atmosphere, with the speed of 20,000 km per hour. The mission had to bring the Preservance rover to halt on the surface in just 7 minutes. So here's the catch. The orbiter or the lander, it's coming to the Martian atmosphere with a speed of 20,000 km per hour. And the thing is that the lander which needs to land on the surface of the moon, it needs to decrease its speed by a huge amount in order to land on the moon. And the lander, it needs to do all of this in just under 7 minutes. So that's a very difficult task to execute, and it must have been really hard for all the scientists who have taken part in that functioning. Also, since it takes 11 minutes for a radio signal to reach the Earth from Mars, the mission control could not really guide the landing and the rover had to complete this process by itself. So as I said, once the lander it enters the Martian atmosphere, it has only 7 minutes to land and to ejaculate a rover. And and the um, and the, um, uh, and here even the people even the people of NASA who are working from the Earth, they cannot control the functioning of rover, because for the functioning of rover or anything for that matter, the only thing which could propagate in space are electromagnetic waves. So one of them is radio wave, um, with which all of our daily tasks like cell phone signals, TV signals, and these radio signals are also responsible for the functioning of most of the actions of the satellites. But this time, the radio signals will be of no help for the landing of the lander, and the ejaculation or the releasing of the rover, because for a radio signal to be transmitted to from Mars to Earth, it takes about 11 minutes. And as I said before, the landing should be done in under 7 minutes, or it may not be a soft landing. So problems may be created. So what I'm basically saying is that, for a radio signal to be transmitted from the Mars surface to the Earth, it takes about 11 minutes, um, and um, and the lander needs to land within 7 minutes. So so what I'm saying is that, in this scenario, the radio signals could be of no help, as they cannot send back the signals in time. So the rover has to do all of its work by itself. No one will be helping it. During the complicated landing process, using a camera eye, the rover checked the ground below to avoid hazardous terrain, all in a few breathtaking minutes. So as I just said, the rover it needs to do all of its work. No one will be helping it from the Earth. So it needs to do a very complicated task in under 7 minutes. It needs to check for safe places on the terrain of the Mars. Um, and for assisting that, there is a camera on the rover which could see the rough patches and prevent landing there. NASA's exploration of Mars has focused on finding traces and trails of water that may have existed, and related to finding the evidence of ancient life. So the main goal of NASA's project, when they sent the satellite or the lander or the rover to the Mars, their main aim was that, or the aim of any research organization for that matter, is that to find water on the surface of the Mars, because wherever there is water, there is life. So in the hopes of finding water, they have carried out their project. Its earlier Mars expedition, which carried the Curiosity rover, landed on August 5th, 2012. So, their most latest landing on the moon surface, before the one which we are discussing right now, is the landing of the Curiosity rover on the surface of the Mars in 2012. So that was a huge celebration, and a huge achievement for for all the world, and mainly the scientists of NASA. It identified regions that could have hosted life. So one advantage which the world has right now is that, the Curiosity rover, it has identified some signs of life on the surface of the Mars, expected to last at least the duration of one Mars year, or about 687 Earth days. The science goal this time are to look for signs of ancient life and collect and rock samples and soil samples. So this time the aim of this project, is to collect soil samples, rock samples, or any signs of life in under 687 days, or one full Mars year. Preservance will take the inquiry made by the Curiosity to the next level, and research of signs of past life by studying the Zero crater. Preservance will take the inquiry made by Curiosity to so the Curiosity rover it made the initiative. It went on to the Mars, and it found that life actually it has existed on the surface of the Mars. So now the task or the project or the thing which the NASA needs to do now with its rover is to go deeper in it. So as I said, they are trying to collect soil samples and rock samples which may indicate the existence of any type of life. And also the rover, it will also be studying the Zero crater on which the rover and the lander landed. The crater was chosen for study as based on the earlier aerial survey. It was found to be home to an ancient delta. So the crater, it was especially chosen to be it was especially chosen to be the landing spot with some minor adjustments. Um, and why this crater was chosen is that when the first rover or the Curiosity rover when it was sent, this crater um, this crater was the one which showed the signs of life. So that may be the reason why this crater was chosen to be focused more on. And it was and to be specific, it was found to be the home of an ancient delta. Clay minerals and carbonates were seen, making the crater a good place for search for life's existence. And not only a delta, some organic compounds which include the element of carbon were seen there, and also clay minerals. So both of this support life in a significant manner. Further, the rover will study the geology here and store samples in a place that can be accessed by a future mission, which will return them to the Earth. So the job of the rover right now is, as I said, is to collect rock and soil samples. And when I say collecting rock and soil samples, I really mean it. Means the rover will be collecting the particles of the soil and the particles of rock, and not just pictures of it and sending back to the NASA. So the reason why it is collecting particles of soil and particles of rock as the samples is because in the next project of NASA, they will be sending a rover onto the Mars surface, which will be collecting those samples which were collected by the rover of this project, and in the future, the rover will collect them, and it will also come back to the surface of the Earth and return them to the people of NASA. The rover um, the rover will test out technologies that could help sustain the presence of humans there in the future. This think so the rover will test out technologies. So the rover it is very complicated because it needs to collect the samples on the surface of the Mars. So in this project, the technologies and the capabilities of NASA and its rover will obviously be tested, um, and hopefully they'll provide they'll even provide hopefully they'll provide at least a slight confirmation that humans can live on the surface of Mars. This includes an instrument to extract oxygen from the atmospheric carbon dioxide. So the rover, it also includes an instrument that extracts oxygen from the carbon dioxide in the moon's atmosphere. The rover also carries a helicopter named Ingenuity that is specially designed to fly in Mars' thin atmosphere. Its sole purpose would be to demonstrate flight on Mars. So, as I said, the rover, it is highly complicated, and its technical value is very high. So this rover, it also has a small drone installed in it. So this drone flies on this. It tries to fly on the surface of Mars. So the sole aim, or the main, or the basic fundamental aim of this project, which includes the drone, is that it is basically trying to prove that it is basically trying to prove that something can float on the surface of Mars. Finally, to the question whether little green microbes did inhabit Mars in a distant past, only time and perseverance can answer that. So last time we saw the signs of the life by seeing some amounts of water, and this time this rover it will hopefully it will hopefully clear everyone's doubt, the presence of life on Mars. So it may identify the existence of microbes on the planet of Mars. So the only thing which can answer that question is some time. So in a few months or years, we'll be knowing the answer to that question. Thank you.